All right, everyone, welcome back. So this is not episode 76, and I've been mentally preparing all week to make this video, but sometimes you're never ready for the inevitable, so here we go. And I have no agenda or script or anything like that for this video. This is simply to have a conversation with all of you so that you know what's going on and you know what to expect coming up here very soon on the land of Chem. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you that have watched these videos, that have purchased my book, that have bought merch, that have supported this channel with all of your positivity, support, and encouragement. It means more to me than words can possibly ever describe. And I know I say that in every episode, but I mean that sincerely. And so I have approximately 3,500 subscribers on this channel now, and only about 500 people ever watch these videos. So this episode and this message and what is coming up here on the channel, this is for you. It's partially for me, but mostly for you, as a way for me to say thank you and a way for me to give something back. So for now, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you so much. It means everything to me that you guys have been here for me, have encouraged my ideas, and for whatever direction this goes, thank you so much for following along on the adventure. And adventure is the perfect word for exactly what is about to happen. Secondly, I want to apologize for any technical difficulties over the previous and subsequent episodes. We're going through a significant transition period here, not only in physical location, but also in technical capabilities. You can see I have a new machine, and hopefully you are noticing the absolutely amazing difference in the processing capabilities of this new equipment. That being said, my previous external microphone went through quite a tumultuous move, and it is on its last leg. So I sincerely apologize for the microphone popping in the previous episode. I had already recorded the whole damn thing, and I'm not doing it over. So it is what it is. And hopefully moving forward, the audio is now loud and clear here, and I will be getting some updated equipment once I am settled in my new place. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that I know you and I have all been very eagerly awaiting. So I have a pretty major announcement. And this is essentially the fulfillment of my lifelong and childhood dreams. And I promised myself that I was going to get through this video without crying. And I will do my best to accomplish that. And to say the least, this has been a very emotional process for me. Not because I'm sad, but because I am unbelievably grateful for the opportunity to do what I'm about to do, and for the multitude of miracles and blessings from God that have occurred during this process that are allowing me to do what I am about to do, which is essentially the topic for today's video. I'll give you some background on the history and what you can anticipate moving forward. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, by the time you are watching this video, I will already be in Egypt. But this time, not just for an annual research expedition, not just for a temporary vacation, but this time for good. Your boy is putting his money where his mouth is, and I am going all in. So that is the announcement, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to spoil the surprise. You know that I like to work in silence and then announce things when they are already done. And I have some absolutely exceptional things coming up here on the channel. And I can say that what you can anticipate is an exponential increase in the content here on this channel. So we're not only going to be doing our weekly research-related videos, but there will also be exclusive on-site expeditions every single week. So the content will not only double, but most likely triple here on the Land of Chem YouTube channel, with some exclusive content that you will not see anywhere else, because no one else is doing what I am about to do. So long story short, I sold my house. I quit my job. I sold my car. I found a wonderful new home for my 3 cats. And I am now 5 days away from moving to Egypt. Literally my lifelong dream since I was a kid. And I wanted to give you some background on why this is happening, what led this to happen, and all of the miraculous series of events that have brought us up to this point. Because I'm sure you've heard me say this before, that the universe works in mysterious ways. And if it were not for the miracles and blessings from God that I absolutely needed along the way, I never would have gotten here. So first and foremost, I want to acknowledge my father and his role in helping to realize the land of Chem. And if it were not for my dad, none of this would have ever happened. Not only in the literal sense of him providing the seed that eventually became me, but also in providing me with the original encouragement that gave me the belief in myself that I needed to make this dream a reality. And my father's name is Roger J Drumm. And I want you to remember that name. And I want you to speak it aloud and teach it to your children. And remember that name forever. Roger Drumm. Colonel Roger Drumm. Retired Army colonel. And the most exceptional man that's ever lived. And I want to give you some background, again, on his involvement in the development of the land of Chem, and also why he is involved in what I am doing now. So my first trip to Egypt was in 2017, and this was right after my godmother had passed away, who was probably one of the most important people that I ever had in my life. She taught me about spirituality and brought me closer to God, my literal godmother. And she passed away in 2017. And after that happened, I was working for an IT company at the time, and I know jack shit about computers. I'm a bit of a Luddite and very much anti-modern technology. As much as I'm interested in ancient technology, I could give a shit about modern technology. And I know nothing that would qualify me to work in an IT company, but I was just a sales guy. And all I had to do was click buttons and collect the commission paycheck. So 2017, I was working for this IT company, and I had a miracle happen where out of the blue, I got a request to sell a whole bunch of laptops to a school district. And I got a big fat commission check. And this was right after I had purchased my home. I had broken up with one of my ex-girlfriends at the time. And I realized that now is the time. This was back in 2017. That if it was my dream to always go to Egypt, and at this time I was investigating the alternative theories about the function of the Egyptian pyramids, and I wanted to go see these things in person. I'd been following Yusuf on YouTube and Christopher Dunn and all this kind of stuff and learning about these alternative theories. And I wanted to see if there was any legitimate evidence of this electricity from the Great Pyramid theory that everybody cut their teeth on. So I booked the trip. I had a big fat commission check, literally a miracle and a gift from God, a blessing from the blue that I did not expect, nor do I think I deserve, but I got it. And I booked my trip, and that was my first trip to Egypt, 2017. And I had no intention when I went to Egypt to write a book or to even come up with a theory. If anything, I was going to Egypt to corroborate other people's theories and to see if there was any evidence to validate their claims. And it was quite to the contrary. I found that there was more evidence that showed that they did not produce electricity. And as you know, here on the channel, I was directed in the path of ancient chemistry. And I think that to be the most practical explanation for what these structures truly are. But I don't want to get distracted with the research because that's not the topic for this video. But I remember back in 2017, my first foot that I stepped into the desert, I knew that it would eventually be my home. I just didn't know how long it was going to take. And originally, I was thinking, oh, maybe one day I'll retire and I'm 65 and I'll work my career and save some money. And one day maybe I'll be able to move to Egypt. You know, old man, retired. I'll pack everything up. My cats will be long gone by then and I'll move to Egypt. So this is 2017, and my friend that went with me at the time, I remember very vividly, we were at the Step Pyramid Complex, right out in front of the Pyramid of Winis, actually. And I remember looking at one of the keepers of the site. He rides up on a horse and, in this flowing garb, and he's got the turban on his head. And, these guys have no money. They have absolutely nothing. They live in a shack in the middle of a desert. But to me, they had everything. Cigarettes to smoke, tea to drink, food to eat, wonderful people to be around, and the most beautiful view that has ever existed on the face of the planet. And I was looking at these guys, and I'm thinking, oh, my career and all this shit back in the United States, and these guys, they have it made, and they know what's up. Because what I have in the United States, that's not life. But this is reality. And I remember saying to my friend, looking at these guys and kind of joking, I was like, 5-year plan. Give it all up. That's going to be me in 5 years. And I remember she looked at me, kind of winking. I was winking back at her. She said, be careful what you wish for. And I remember that very distinctly. Now here we are, a little bit more than 5 years later. This is year 6. And I've made it a reality. The fulfillment of my dreams. Now, a lot of things had to happen between then and now to make this possible. And not all of them were good things. That is one of the major reasons that I'm doing this. So again, back to my father. I get back from my 2017 research expedition with this theory budding, just sort of sprouting in my brain. The Red Pyramid was making ammonia. I had no idea how it was happening yet. I just knew that intuitively that that's what that structure was for, and that these pyramids were chemical manufacturing plants. It is the most practical, sound, comprehensive, and genuine to the ancient Egyptian civilization theory that is out there, period. No one else even comes close to what I have proposed. Christopher Dunn, of course, the pioneer in all of this, and none of us would have ever gotten anywhere if it wasn't for his work. But I think what I'm attempting to do here, with my work on the land of Chem, his work was a foundation and a platform for everything that has come since then. And what you will see here on the channel over the next few months and years, I truly believe will change the field of lost ancient history research forever. So I get back from my 2017 trip, and I start putting together this research presentation. Basically what I'm now presenting on YouTube, but in a much, much longer format. It was all of the structures, all of the research, all of the information that I had put together that would have eventually become the Land of Chem book and all of the material that you see on my YouTube channel. I put it together in a long PowerPoint presentation with the intention of one day releasing it on YouTube. So before I made any formal progress with releasing this theory to the public, I wanted to make sure that all of the science was valid. That if I was going to put this out to the public, that I wasn't full of shit. Because the integrity of my research is of the utmost importance to me. And what I have done with my research is something that no one else in this field has had the courage to do, which is stick your neck out there, come up with a theory, and release it to the public. No one else. And that is why I question the integrity of some of these other channels out there on YouTube. Because they have proposed 0 original theories. Absolutely nothing new. They are regurgitating the same old nonsense that we've heard for decades and decades. And in my opinion, if you are not contributing to moving the needle forward, then shut the fuck up and get out of the way. Because there are real researchers out there that are trying to make serious progress in this field. And if we are going to determine that there was a potential function for these structures, we need to get away from the narrative of lost ancient high technology and start coming up with legitimate theories. And that was my intention in putting together my research. And I wanted to make sure that before I did it, that all of the boxes were checked. Because again, the integrity of my research is of the utmost importance. This is not lost ancient high technology nonsense. This is not clickbait. I take my work very, very seriously. And hopefully, with what I'm about to do, you can see how serious I am taking this. So that being said, I wanted to run this presentation by a few people that I knew were well acquainted with the theories of lost ancient high technology, the Egyptian pyramids, etc., etc. So the first person that I contacted was Alan from the Sacred Geometry Decoded channel. And shout out to Alan, as I'll be discussing him at the end of the video. I had been following Alan's YouTube channel for, again, probably about a decade, and I was always very inspired by his integrity and the quality of his research and his work. So I contacted Alan when I got back from my 2017 research trip, and I said, Alan, hey man, I got this crazy theory in a presentation. I would love to show it to you and get some of your feedback. And he said that he was interested. So we hopped on a Zoom call one night, and after about a 4-hour-long presentation, Alan got up out of his chair and started clapping, standing applause. And I remember quite vividly that night, it brought me to tears, because that was the first experience of positivity and encouragement that I had gotten. And he said that this was possibly the best theory that he had heard regarding the function of the Egyptian pyramids, the most comprehensive, certainly addressing the function of all the structures, the most practical, and the most directly related to what we know from dynastic Egypt. Clearly, I toe the line and push the envelope a little bit further, but we still have to consider that these things were built by Egyptians, whether it be before the dynastic period or whenever. It's still in Egypt. These people were still Egyptians. So you have to tie it to that civilization. So I contacted Alan and showed him the presentation. He loved it. He said, you actually might have something here. And that was step number one in giving me the confidence that I needed to pursue manifesting this dream. So the next step was contacting my dad. And my dad was a lifelong military guy, like I said, retired colonel. And his last station was at NORAD, Colorado Springs in Colorado. And I knew that if I showed him this research presentation, and if I was full of shit, he would call my bluff and send me on the path back to reality. Say, hey, Jeff, man, you're full of shit. You need to don't quit your day job. So I showed him the presentation, same thing I showed Alan, about 3 or 4 hours worth of Zoom call. And he sat there patiently and listened to all of the research and the explanation that I had given him. And at the end of it, again, I kind of expected him to say, man, you're full of shit, dude. But he didn't. He said that it was extremely convincing, and he could see the amount of effort that I had put into the research, and that everything that I was presenting was legitimate. It wasn't just some speculative nonsense. It wasn't just a bunch of clickbait buzzword bullshit. It's real science, real research. And at the time, I had put my life into developing these ideas. So he asked me, I said, well, what are you going to do with it? Which was a great question, because at the time I didn't have an answer. I had this presentation, maybe make a YouTube video about it, but I had no ultimate goal. I just wanted to put this out to the public if it was verifiable and scientifically valid. Because if it wasn't, I never would have released this information. I would never put it out to you if I could not empirically verify, scientifically verify the hypothesis that I am presenting. And my dad again said, what are you going to do with this? I said, Dad, maybe I'll write a research paper. I saw him thinking about that. He said, man, why are you going to waste your time writing a research paper? Made a lot of sense. He said, you don't have any academic qualifications to write a research paper. You're not actively involved in the scholastic landscape. Nobody's going to read your paper. It'll get zero traction. If anything, it will be completely disregarded by the scientific community, and it will go nowhere. Nothing will ever happen with it and be a boring-ass, dry research paper nobody wants to read anyway. So he looked at me and said, man, why don't you just write a book? So you're so full of shit anyway. And I say that very lovingly. He said, you got the gift of gab, man. Just write it. Just tell the story. And the light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, oh, man, this motherfucker, he's right. And now I knew that that was what I had to do, which is the intention of the book, was not to write a boring-ass research paper. Nobody's going to read that shit. I don't want to write a research paper. I read these research papers, and it's disappointing. Some of the stuff that's coming out of Egypt in regard to research. And what I wanted to do was paint the bigger picture and tell the story. And there's a great quote by Rudyard Kipling that says, if history were told in the form of stories, then it would never be forgotten. And that was the intention of my book, was to tell the story. And within that fictional narrative, there's a monologue that contains all of the academic research that I put into my videos and I put into that presentation. So if you're looking for a research paper, it's in there. And that is how the intellectual material is presented within the book, is in the format of a research paper. However, it's being presented within the context of the degrees of an ancient esoteric society. And the protagonist is traveling to each one of the pyramids to receive the degree, and he is given instruction as to exactly how each one of these things operated and which chemicals they were producing. So that was my inspiration, was from my dad, J Drumm. And without him, none of this would have ever happened. There would have been no book. There would have been no YouTube channel, no videos, none of this. You and I would have never met. So remember his name and say it. Teach it to your children. J Drumm, Colonel J Drumm, the most exceptional man that ever lived. So fast forward a couple months, I'm starting to write this book, and I get a call from my dad, and out of the blue, his wife, my stepmom, had talked him into going to see a presentation on the 7 principles of Hermetic philosophy. Something I thought that my dad would never ever go see. I mean, a lifelong, hard-ass military guy going to see a presentation on esoteric principles. These two things are not compatible. So I was quite in shock when I heard that he was going to see this thing. Turns out that the guy giving the presentation was a Rosicrucian, kind of a cousin organization to Freemasonry, of which I am a member. And he's also a retired master's level chemical engineer. The universe works in very mysterious ways. And it was by no accident that God and the universe brought my father and Ed together. Because Ed was the 3rd step in the process for giving me the confidence that I needed to release this material to the public. So, of course, my dad, huge advocate of my work, goes up and talks to Ed after the presentation, gets his contact information. Hey, my son has this crazy idea about the Egyptian pyramids. It involves chemical manufacturing and chemical engineering. Would you be interested in talking to him? Of course, Ed was like, yeah, man, right up my alley. So they exchanged contact information, and with the greatest anticipation and a lot of trepidation, I contacted Ed because I knew that this was going to be the make or break for the land of chem and for this theory, for this hypothesis that I was developing. Because this is the first person with not only academic qualifications, but also professional qualifications. So this guy, again, master's level professor of chemical engineering. Not only that, but he has multiple patents, both domestic and international, for chemical engineering processes and mechanisms. So this is the guy that was going to tell me if I was full of shit or if this theory truly had legs to stand on. And I was scared because I didn't know. Again, I talked to Alan, who thought it was a great idea. Alan is not a chemical engineer. I talked to my dad. He didn't know jack shit about chemistry. He's in the military. Smart guy, and could tell the difference between complete bullshit and legitimate science. And he thought that my work was leaning toward the legitimate science. But again, I wanted to talk to somebody that really knew what they were talking about. And if this theory was complete garbage, he would tell me. And I wouldn't waste my time. So Ed and I, again, jumped on a Zoom call. He said straight up, he said, Jeffrey, I'm going to treat you like one of my grad students, and I'm going to have you present your dissertation. And I'm going to tear this thing to pieces. And that's exactly what he did. We started from scratch at the step pyramid complex, the production of methane gas. And I explained to him step by step, piece by piece, every single little small detail of the theory. We talked about it. He had me verify it. He had me present pictures and diagrams, exactly what I do now in my YouTube videos, to verify and justify the claims that I was making. Again, he sat very patiently through this probably months worth of meetings where we got on Zoom calls and we talked about the different structures and the different mechanisms and all of the things that I've presented on the channel. I discussed with Ed originally because I wanted to run him through the gauntlet of everything that I was inevitably going to present on YouTube and make sure that what I was saying would be presented with integrity. And at the end of the day, we got through all of the material. He said, Jeff, this is by far the best and most comprehensive theory that I have ever heard regarding the possible function of the Egyptian pyramids. And he did some research and he looked into Christopher Dunn's theory and some of the other theories out there. And he said, there's absolutely no verifiable science in any of those theories. It is all pseudoscience, speculation, bullshit. But then, looking at my theory, he felt that it was legitimate. And he felt that there was really something to all of this. And it was because of Ed that I had the confidence and the belief in myself to publish this book. So after we finished with our meetings, I hit the ground running. I finished the book. And now here we are, 5 years later. And it took me 3 years to write and publish that book from 2017 to 2020 when I first released the digital copies of my book and I published The Land of Chem here on YouTube. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit to my 2022 research expedition. And I knew, again, 2017, as soon as my foot hit the sand, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Dune, but I love the movie. Not only because it's compatible with my research, but also because of my love of Egypt and science fiction and all this stuff. But again, as soon as your foot hits the sand, I knew that the desert would always be my home. I just didn't know how long it was going to take. And again, the dream was one day, maybe when I retire, I'll move to Egypt and finally go after my dreams. So during my 2022 research expedition, I went to see some apartments right outside of Cairo. And prior to that, I couldn't visualize manifestation of the dream. And that is one of the most essential parts of manifesting your dreams into physical reality, is being able to visualize it, to see that end goal so clearly that there is no other option than for it to become a reality. It is so clear in your mind and so distinct in the future that all other outcomes and all other paths become eliminated. And there is only you and that ultimate goal. And that's what I did when I started writing my book. And I remember visualizing in my head, because I already had the image of what I wanted the book to look like. And it came out exactly that way. And I remember thinking, visualizing in my head the moment when I would get that book delivery on my doorstep. And I would open the box and I would cut it open and I would pull out that first copy of the book and I would hold it up. It brings me to tears almost. And I would hold it up and I would open it up and I would see my name on the cover and I would have this moment of elation and pride and all of this stuff. And I held on to that vision because that's what it takes to manifest your goals, is the vision. And you can't let that out of sight. It has to be the most important thing in your mind. Your focus of every single moment of every day has to be on that goal. And eventually you'll get there if you work hard enough. So then fast forward to me actually getting the delivery on my doorstep. And it was a great moment, but probably the most anticlimactic moment of my entire life, because I expected to have this big moment of celebration and, oh man, I'm so proud of myself. I did all this stuff. Man, I pulled it out. I looked at it. I threw it down. I was like, motherfucker. Now I have so much more work to do. And that was the thought. It was a great moment of accomplishment and a moment of personal pride because I did it. But that book is just the foundation. That book allowed me to codify my ideas, write them into stone. My name is on that book. This intellectual material is mine. And for any of you out there that have ideas or theories or whatever it might be, if it isn't written and if it isn't published, it does not mean anything. And that is why I wrote the book, is to take ownership of this material, to take responsibility for the distribution of this material. And now I am going all in on taking this all the way. So 2022, I'm looking at apartments. And I get back and I can see the vision now, because in the place where I'll be living it's beautiful. And it's not like Giza. Giza is very hectic and there's a lot of poverty and pollution, traffic, noise. It's way too crazy. However, 30 minutes outside, it's like a paradise. And I found my apartment and I could see the dream manifesting into reality. It was like a red carpet rolling out in front of me. I could see the path and God gave me the direction. So I get back, 2022, and my dad passed away in October of 2020. No, so this is 2021. 2021. I'm missing my dates up a little bit here because I've been to Egypt several times now. And I'm mixing up my years. So now we're at 2021. I hadn't seen the apartments yet. So 2021 research expedition. I get back. And it was September 2021. And my father passed away in October. And I realized at that time, and it was the most profound change that's ever happened to me in my life. It was like a light switch went off inside of me. And I realized that now is the time. And that if I was going to pursue this dream, there is no waiting. There is no sitting around waiting until retirement. There is no, oh, I'm going to wait till maybe the cats pass away or whatever it may be. The time is now. There is no waiting. So there's something very important in terms of manifesting goals, and it's called the timeline of manifestation. So you set yourself a goal. Okay, I want to move to Egypt. Maybe I can do it in 20 years. And you'll see this timeline of manifesting your goal. There's going to be all these tasks and obstacles in the way for you to get to that goal. Well, the trick is to take that timeline and shorten it and remove all of the obstacles that are going to take you that long to get there and shorten that timeline. So I start looking at my timeline of manifestation for moving to Egypt and pursuing my dream of researching the Egyptian pyramids. And so I'm thinking about retirement. Well, see, my dad died 2 years after he retired. And 2 years isn't enough for me to do what I want to do. And there's no guarantee that I even get to retirement. So that's off the plate. No more waiting 20 years. There's no guarantee for tomorrow, let alone 20 years down the line. And God only knows what could happen in the next year. So I'm a single man. I have no wife. I have no children. The only thing I have is 3 cats. We'll talk about them in a little bit. So there is literally nothing that is preventing me from doing this. And if I had waited even a year, I could meet somebody, fool around, end up getting some girl pregnant, and then I'm stuck here, never able to pursue my dream. So I realized there is no waiting till retirement. So the next thing was my career. A lot of you don't well know, but probably no one knows this, but for the past 5 years, I've been working a full-time career. And what you have seen produced here on the land of Chem has all been part-time, all done in the background, all done after hours. I was working a full-time, 9-to-5 career and doing all of this in the background, putting 90% of my effort into this bullshit career and 10% of my effort into my dreams. And Dad dies, and I realize this is no longer an acceptable distribution of my time. And I don't give a shit about this corporate job. The only thing I care about is this dream. The function of the Egyptian pyramids as related to the production of chemicals, ancient chemistry. The most fascinating idea, I think, that has ever been proposed regarding the function of the Egyptian pyramids. And one day, this will be something. Even more than it is now. So I knew the career also had to go. I hated every minute of it. After I got back 2022, again, my dad dies in 2021. I go to Egypt in 2022 to look for apartments. It was sort of my testimony for my father. Me going to Egypt by myself and checking out these apartments. So I get back last year, September 2022, and the days are going by, and every single night I'm sitting there like, why the fuck are you not doing this yet? What are you waiting for? Your career doesn't matter. All the bullshit that you're doing here does not matter at all. The only thing that matters is this. And the clock is ticking, bro. Time waits for no one. And it is the only commodity on this planet that you will never get back. Time is the most valuable thing in the world. And my time was ticking. So again, looking at that timeline of manifestation, I got to get rid of a bunch of obstacles that are preventing me from doing this. My biggest one being the cats. I have these 3 cats that I love with all my heart. I rescued all 3 of these guys. And again, I originally thought that I would wait until one day the cats pass away, which is the inevitable consequence of life. And I knew that that would be sad, but inshallah, God willing, those cats live another 10 or 15 years. And I can't wait another 10 or 15 years. So September goes along, October goes along, November comes along, and I'm waiting, and I'm sitting, and I'm thinking about it. Why aren't you doing this yet? Why aren't you doing this yet? Why aren't you doing it? You're wasting your fucking time, and the clock is ticking. So finally, December rolls around. Right after the 1-year anniversary of my dad dying, I went to go see his grave at the military cemetery, and again, very profound realization that, dude, now is the fucking time. And if I'm going to do this, it's time to get to work. So that's what I did. At the beginning of December, I had a realtor come out and take a look at my house. give me an appraisal. Same realtor I used to buy the house. I'm telling John, man, you got me in this situation. Now you could get me out of it. And turns out that I was going to be able to do pretty well in selling my house. So I said, let's do it. And I signed the contract to put my house on the market, which was step number one. And this is another important part of manifesting your goals. You got to put the work in. You can't just sit there and do prayers and spiritual what the fuck ever and expect miracles to land on your doorstep. Sometimes they will. But if you're not putting the work in, you will go absolutely nowhere. So I had to start putting in the work. So I signed the contract. First step was getting some painters out to the house to touch up the exterior. Pretty easy. Just hire them, pay the money. They come out and they touch everything up. Done deal. So now we're about midway through December. Exterior stuff is being done, but I had done nothing myself. And I'm sitting there in my house, mid-December. I get a text from my realtor that the pictures, lady coming to take the pictures so they can put it on MLS and, all the pictures that they put on like Zillow and shit. She's coming on the 27th. So I had 2 weeks. And an absolute mountain of things had to be accomplished before that. So again, timeline of manifestation, all of these obstacles in the way. And I'm sitting in my house one night and I'm freaking out because I had absolutely no idea how I was going to accomplish all of the things that were going to be required to get the house ready for these pictures to be taken. And so I prayed, and I very much believe in God. I don't believe in or practice any particular religion. I'm a student of all and a practitioner of none. I just believe in God, in a higher power, in the almighty creator of the universe. So I prayed to God. I got down on my knees and I pressed my head on the floor. And I prayed to God to give me the answers and the strength that I needed to get through the process. And if you're quiet enough, God will speak to you. And they always tell us not to listen to the voices in your head because a lot of those are conditioned responses from our upbringing and, your own internal monologue. But if you can learn to quiet that, the universe and deity will speak directly to you. And God said, Jeff, the reason that you're stressed out is because you're not working hard enough. And I realized that it was absolutely true. I had a goal that I had set, but I wasn't doing my part. And to accomplish goals, you have to work. And I realized that I had to put the pedal down to the floor if I was serious about making this happen. So the next day, I started making phone calls. I was out there cleaning up some shit in the side of the house. I saw a mulch truck driving by. I called the mulch truck, get the mulch delivery. I call the gravel people. Hey, I need a delivery of gravel to get my gravel beds touched up. Gravel delivery comes. Next morning, I'm out there. I moved 7,500 pounds of gravel by myself in one day, putting in the work. I had to paint my deck. So Christmas Eve, it is 8 degrees where I live. I'm out there at 7 o'clock in the morning, painting the fucking deck, getting the work done, spreading the gravel. And I worked my ass off in the toughest conditions that I've ever seen here in the area in terms of it being cold and trying to do shit in the cold. Like painting a deck is not easy, but I got it done. And there comes a time in the manifestation of all these goals where the work that you can do will be all done. And again, God's speaking to me and saying, hey, the reason you're stressed, the reason you're anxious, because you're not working hard enough. And that is a very true statement for all of you out there. Whatever situation it is that you're stressed about, that's giving you anxiety, the reason you're stressed is because you're not working hard enough. For your job, for example, if you're stressed out because of your job, because you're not making enough money, it's because you're not working hard enough to be successful. Or it's because you're not working hard enough to change the circumstances that you're in. And you absolutely can do it. It requires courage. And it requires belief in yourself, but you can change your circumstances. And regardless of whether it's your relationship, your job, whatever circumstance, if you're stressed or if you're anxious, you ain't working hard enough. Because there's a list of things that need to get done to relieve all of that stress and anxiety. That's why you're stressed, is because there's a bunch of shit that's not done yet. If you start checking off that list and working your ass to the bone, knocking all of those things off the list, everything on that list that needs to be done in that day, if you get it accomplished, you will come home at the end of the night and there will be nothing to stress about because all of the work is done. And you'll be so fucking tired from working your ass off that you can lay your head down and sleep peacefully at night. That's the secret, is hard work. You got to put in the effort. And that's what I started to do. But there will come a time, and this is the magic of the manifestation of dreams, that if you put in the work, God will recognize that. And there will come a time when all the work has been done, and there is nothing else that you can physically do. And that's exactly what happened in the process of selling the house. All the work is done. Gravel's laid, the mulch is laid, all the plants are trimmed, exterior looks amazing, house inside as clean as it could possibly be. I worked my fucking ass off in December to make it happen. Pictures come, pictures look beautiful. Come January, there's nothing more that I can do. And I have to turn it over to God and pray that the house will sell. So the house goes on the market. But there's a big contingency in all of this. And one thing that could have possibly prevented this from happening, which is my cats. My most beloved, I don't even want to call them possessions, but the thing in my life that I love the most. These cats. And promise, I'm going to get through this without crying, but there's a reason I'm emotional. It's not because I'm sad. It's because God gave me a miracle. And I'm so grateful for that. So, I thought that I had the plan, right? And all of our human beings and our infinite wisdom, we think that we have the plan. Oh, I'm going to plan it. It's going to go according to my plan. And my plan is the right plan. Oh, I'm so fucking smart. I'm going to plan everything. So, me and my infinite wisdom, I came up with a plan. I said, I can't give these cats up for adoption. I cannot have these cats live in a cage. This whole thing is about living life without regrets. And if I had done that, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. And that is not how I want to live. So I had to find a new owner for these cats. And I had to make sure that they stayed together because they're a family. And I don't want to break up my family. So I had a thought that perhaps somebody that was buying my house would be willing to keep the cats together in my house. So I move out, new owners move in, cats stay there. Little cat family in their home. They don't have to move and nothing has to change. So that was my plan. And I thought that it was pretty fucking good. Because I felt happy with that. And if that's how it played out, I knew that I could leave with no regrets because I knew that they would be safe and they would be together in their home. So we got an offer. Got a whole shitload of offers. But one of the offers said that, hey, we'll be willing to keep the cats. So, hey, God, you answered my prayers. You gave me the miracle. So also during this time frame, my grandfather is basically on his deathbed. Not a sad thing. He's 98. He was 98 years old. He's now passed away. An absolutely beautiful life. Polish immigrant. Moved from Poland with his wife and 6 kids when he was my age. I don't even have any kids. And this motherfucker immigrated from Poland with an entire family. Moved to the United States. Created this beautiful life for our family here. So I knew I had to go see my grandfather one more time. So I booked the trip to go up there to see him. Dude's an absolute tank, man. He had congestive heart failure. He had a stroke. He had pneumonia. He had COVID. All of this within a series of months. And he just wouldn't die. And he had cancer. He just wouldn't die. But I knew I had to go see him because I was moving. And I knew I wouldn't be able to come back for the funeral. And again, I didn't want to regret not seeing my grandfather. So I booked a trip. But at the time, I was broke as fuck. It cost a lot of money to sell a house and to get shit ready. And I had spent it all. I had nothing. I was very concerned. How the hell am I going to go up there, see my grandparents? I didn't have money for gas, rental car, food, etc. I was going to be up there for almost a week. So lo and behold, buyer cancels the contract. And I was a little distraught, to say the least, because not only was that my plan for taking care of the cats, which now is out the window, but now my house isn't going to sell. So now panic sets in. Oh, this dream is never going to happen. I'm not going to be able to move to Egypt. But God had a different plan, a better plan. Turns out, part of the contract was if somebody cancels out of the deal, they got to pay me $1,000. So dude had to cut me $1,000 check. God blessed me with a miracle of $1,000 to take with me on this trip to go see my grandparents. So I had money that I desperately needed to go see my grandfather one last time. And a couple weeks later, he did pass away. And rest in peace, Jaji, old man. Most beautiful life. And he didn't die in the rehab home. He got home. He died in his bed. His whole family was there. Most beautiful way a human being could possibly ever go out. But I got a chance to go see him one last time. Again, a miracle and a blessing from God. Not a part of my plan, but a part of his plan. So now I'm back. Got to put the house back on the market again. Showings again, all of that stress of showing the house and having people coming in and not knowing what's happening with these cats. And we're getting all these offers and nobody's offering to take the cats. I'm stressed out. What the fuck am I going to do about these cats? Because I can sell the house. I can get rid of all my stuff and it doesn't mean a damn thing. It's all just stuff. And when you die, it all goes in the trash anyway. But the cats, I couldn't just leave them. Couldn't just put them in a box. Couldn't just put them in a cage. Because I love these guys. I like my family, my children. So that was the only hang up. So again, house goes back on the market, showings. I lift the little note. Hey, if anybody's willing to keep these cats, leave it in your offer. So he did. We got another offer. You can leave the cats and any furniture you want. We're going to take care of them. Great. God, again, thank you for the blessing of the $1,000. Thank you for answering my prayers and giving me the miracle of the cats being taken care of. So now we're getting closer to the closing date. Buyers have been MIA. I've been trying to get in touch with them. Hey, I need an introduction with the cats and make sure that you guys meet. I can give you all the information, yada, yada. You can make sure you feel comfortable, whatever. We're about a week out from closing. Finally get in touch with the buyers. They schedule a meeting to come over to the house. As soon as they walk in the door, I knew they weren't going to take them. But I went through the whole deal, the spiel had, this is the cats, blah, blah, blah. Look at the furniture. Let me know what you're going to do. If they were going to take the cats, they would have walked in the door excited about taking them. And I knew when I saw these two, what happened. But I also had a backup. A friend of mine was also going to take them. So, of course, buyer falls through. They're still buying the house, but they're not keeping the cats. And now I have to be out in 1 week. No place to go. No place to live. And nowhere to take these cats. So my backup, my friend, call him, hey man, situation's changed. When are you coming to pick them up? So I can't do it now either. So I hang up the phone. I was not a happy camper. Because again, this was my plan. This was my agreement. I thought we had it all worked out. This is what I had prayed for. I asked you for a miracle. And now, it's all falling through. And I was questioning the whole process. So no, I'm not going to be able to do it. I thought everything was falling apart. So I started calling adoption agencies, local shelters. Oh, they're going to put them in a cage and separate, blah, blah. I was not in a good place that night. So again, I got down on my knees and prayed to God. I said, God, I can't do this without you. I came up with a plan. I did the best that I could to make sure that these cats would be taken care of. And this is the only thing that matters to me, is these cats being taken care of. So please, I need a miracle. And I didn't know how it was all going to play out. But it happened before I went to bed that night. I noticed, I jumped on Instagram, and I saw that one of my first girlfriend from middle school. And I've had a lot of, again, the universe works in mysterious ways, and God has brought so many people into my life from the past that have made it possible for me to do what I'm doing. So, for example, my friend Blake, shout out Blake, I hope you're watching this, man. Without you, the book never would have been a reality. So I didn't even have social media before I published the book. Didn't have Instagram, didn't have Facebook. The only reason I have social media now is to promote my work. So I opened a Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff, and Blake gets in touch, my best friend, my first friend from middle school. Following my work, hey man, your work is awesome on Egypt. I'm super interested. If there's any way I can help, let me know. Well, turns out Blake works for, co-owns, manages a lithography company, a printing, publishing, and distribution company. Exactly what I needed. God and the universe works in very mysterious ways. And got in touch with Blake. Long story short, he's the guy that currently does my book shipping and distribution and printing. He helped me design the cover. And again, it was a miracle and a blessing that God brought him back into my life. And Blake, it's because of you, man, that this book, the physical book, is a reality. So thank you. And I hope I see you in Egypt soon. So now I'm stuck. I have no house. I got to move out 5 days before the closing. Cats have nowhere to go. I'm fucked. Or so I thought. Right before I go to bed that night, happened to jump on Instagram. Jessica, my first girlfriend from middle school. And this was young love. Like, I don't even know if we ever kissed or anything like that. But it was just like the first girl that I don't even remember the details, so long ago. And again, we were so young. It was just like trivial at the time. But I didn't know how significant she would be in my life. So I'm on Instagram, happened to see what she was on. And she had also contacted me because of my book. She found me on Instagram, found me on Facebook, was following my research, bought a copy of my book. She loved my work. Said, hey, Jeff, I would love to get a signed copy. So we sat down for lunch one day. I brought her a signed copy, and we just caught up. And she's such a beautiful human being. Again, exactly what I remember from middle school, but now a grown, beautiful adult woman. She's married to one of my friends from high school. They have kids together. They have this amazing life. And she was just this beautiful, radiant human being. Just a beautiful person inside and out. And it was such a beautiful moment to reconnect. And again, I'm not sad. I'm so happy. And I'm so blessed. Not going to cry. So we had this beautiful moment to reconnect. I happened to see her on Instagram that night. Say, hey, Jessica, how do you feel about cats? And I went to sleep very distraught and very worried, praying for a miracle that God had a better plan than mine. So I wake up the next morning. Hey, Jeff, hey, I love cats. Amazing creatures. We have 2 cats. What's going on? So I sent her a voice message explaining the situation. Hey, Jessica, I'm moving to Egypt. Trying to find somewhere for the cats. Found out last night that my 2 options are no longer options. Do you know anyone that can help? And she stepped up to the plate. They have a beautiful, large property, secluded property, away from the road. There's a creek that prevents them from getting to the road. They have a couple of cats, a couple of dogs, indoor, outdoor access. Cats can go inside, cats can go outside. They have a family. They have 3 wonderful children, husband and wife, beautiful property. Everything that I could never give those cats, they will have with her. And it was such a miracle and such a blessing from God. Because God had a better plan. Big surprise, right? The universe works in mysterious ways, and we as human beings sometimes do not understand the plan because we have our own plans. We think that we're in control, and we think that we're so fucking smart. We got it all figured out. And this is the plan, and this is how it's going to go, and this is the best solution to the situation, I thought. But now in retrospect, God had such a more beautiful plan for me and for those cats, because now they get to go somewhere absolutely amazing. And they get to be with a family. They get to go inside and they get to go outside and explore and do cat stuff. So I know that they are going to be loved and taken care of. And now I can drop them off with no regrets. I will know that they are not in a cage. And I know that they will be loved by those children and by that family. And it was literally the biggest miracle and the biggest blessing from God, because without her and without those cats being taken care of, there is absolutely no way that this would be happening. Because I would have waited as long as it took for me to find a good place for them. But God took care of it almost immediately. A blessing and a miracle. The power of prayer, the power of faith, and not giving up. So now, here we are. Again, by the time that you are watching this, I will already be in Egypt. But at this time, I'm 5 days out. And this has been a very bittersweet process. And I'm currently going through the bitter part of it. Just saying goodbye. But it's not a goodbye. It's a long vacation. And everybody knows that I'm going to be doing what I was put here to do. The work that I am doing. The research that I am presenting here on the land of Chem. This will be my legacy. And before I close, I want to put in a quick video to introduce you to the cats, because they're the most important thing in my life. And I want them to be remembered forever as well. Roger, John Drumm. Colonel Roger Drumm. Sam, Bella, and Delilah. Those are the names. So this guy here, this is Sam. Hi, everybody. It's my little boy, and I love this guy so much. This one here, this is Delilah. Say hi, everybody. It's my little black girl and my little princess. I love you. And this one here, this is Bella, my first. Old green eyes. I'm going to miss you. I love you. Say hi to people. Hi, people. There you go. And if you read the acknowledgments of my first book, you'll also see Ronda, my godmother. And again, those two passing was not part of my plan. But the universe works in mysterious ways. And after Ronda passed, I took my first trip to Egypt. And now, with my dad passing, I am going all in. No regrets, no doubts. Chasing my dream and doing what I have wanted to do since I was a little boy. And there's this great picture of Ronda and I when I was about 13. And every time I start to panic or doubt or get scared about what I'm doing, I look at that picture and I see little me staring back at me, looking at the man that I have become today in awe. This is you. This is what you're doing with your life. You're fucking researching the pyramids. You're about to move to Egypt. And that little glimmer in that boy's eye, I can now see it when I look at myself in the mirror and I think about what I'm about to do. And it makes me very proud. But this isn't for me. This is for you. To say thank you. So again, what you can anticipate moving forward. Not only the weekly research-based episodes that you've all come to love and expect. On-site, exclusive, weekly visits to the sites. Every single week, going out to the site to research, document, and learn. Exclusive content that I'm going to be presenting here on the Land of Chem YouTube channel. So no more once a week, not twice a week, but possibly even more than that. Because the on-site research expeditions is only one thing that I have planned for this channel. And like I said before, I truly believe that what is about to happen is going to change the game forever. And I want to quote, or rather, I'm going to close on a quote. And again, this goes back to 2017. This is actually 2020, because I was about to publish, maybe 2019. And I was talking to Alan from the Sacred Geometry Decoded channel, the guy that I worked with on the presentation. And I was going through a very, very difficult time in the beginning of 2020, going through a breakup. And this was right before I had published the digital copy of my book. And I was going through a very difficult time, dealing with some emotional stuff, and then also trying to figure out what I was doing with this book. And Alan didn't know it at the time, and he could have never known, but I was in desperate need of a friend. And he just happened to send me this, not knowing what I was going through, but knowing that I was working on bringing this into reality. Because before it was just a concept. It was just a bunch of slides. It was nothing until I finished writing the book. You have to write the book or it means nothing. That is why the Land of Chem exists. You can't just have a YouTube channel and expect to change the world. So I'm talking to Alan and he sends me this poem. And it was literally a life-changing moment because it inspired me so profoundly. And after I got this, I dug in. I finished the book. I built my YouTube channel. I built my website. I did everything from scratch by myself because I was so motivated to do this, to make this a reality. And what I'm about to do is the culmination of this dream. So now, in closing, I'm going to read you a quote from Charles Bukowski, possibly one of my favorite poets. And this is a poem called Go All the Way. And there's almost no way that I'm going to be able to get through this without crying. But I will do my best, as I haven't yet. And again, it's not because I'm sad. So blessed. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would have the opportunity to do this. And if any of you knew where I came from 10 years ago, one day I will tell that story. But long story short, I was dead on the side of the road, facing some very, very serious consequences. $10,000 in debt, in very serious trouble. Literally dead on the side of the road. I had a proverbial white light experience. God spoke to me. He said, Jeff, you're going to die here on the side of the road. Your family will be sad for a while, and they will forget you, and then they will move on. And as I was moving toward the light, all of a sudden it disappeared. The white light turned into starry sky. I was back in my body. God said, not yet, ma'am. I'm going to give you one more chance. And after that night, my life completely changed. That's when I joined the IT company. Fast forward to going to Egypt. God gave me a second opportunity. And now, I'm going to make the most of that. So without further ado, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, and maybe even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it. Despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything that you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I am about to do. I and the land of Chem, we are going all the way. So, a final send-off. Adios, amigos. Aquí en los Estados Unidos. And ahlan wasalan. Wassalamu alaikum, Egypt. Yalavina, which in Egyptian Arabic means, let's go. And I will see you next time.